Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Cooper, and I'm the founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate and the owner of the Platinum Group Real Estate Team. And for today's coffee chat, I am excited to be talking to my assistant client care manager extraordinaire, Melissa Oliver. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
You know what's so funny is that you and I are actually in different offices in the same, different rooms in the same office right now.
It was a little bit of tweaking to get the audio.
I know, but I thought that using this new system might be good. So very good. So I wanted to talk to you. You know, we had our lunch a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about how to hire an assistant, what to look for, what to delegate. That's always a great big question. And so I thought it would be fun to do this coffee chat with you, since you and I have really put together a good working relationship. I think you would say too.
I think so too.
Okay. And it's been has it been 3 years now?
It has been 3 years. Yep. It's not, well, in fact, in the beginning of February will be 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So, and it's been an involvement over time, right? Because in the beginning, I know we had some struggles. I am not a good delegator. I tend to try to hold on to things. I know Laura Griffin posted about that in the group, I think last night or this morning. And so I know it's been a process for us to get to where we are now. So I thought it might be helpful. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your experience before you came to work with us, and your background as far as that's concerned.
Well, so I was a former teacher. I worked in a specialized field of special education doing ABA therapy for kids on the autism spectrum. And I just got a little burnt out from that. I have a son that's on the spectrum myself, and I wanted to change. So I started going to real estate school, and I was an assistant for a man in Old Town Alexandria, and I really liked the feel. It just wasn't a good fit. Our dynamic was not good. And then I, stumbled across an ad for you.
Yep.
And Vicky, and the rest is history, really.
So your experience really was not, it was in education. It was not in, being in real estate. It just so happened that you got this position assisting this other person before you came to work with us.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
And we found each other, interestingly enough, through a Craigslist ad, which
is very funny.
It is very funny, because I think we often think that Craigslist is not going to be a great option when it comes to this kind of stuff, but it worked out beautifully.
It did. We both hit the jackpot.
Yes, we did. So what I like to, one of the things that we'll talk real quick about before we kind of get into what you do and how you do them so well is how to find your assistant. So we talked about this a little bit before, and for us, like I said, Craigslist was perfect for us. I think one of the best things that we did, it was advice I'd gotten from somebody a while ago, was when you're posting an ad for someone to work for you, include some kind of very specific requirement or very specific way for them to submit their application or their resume, because that gives you an insight immediately on whether or not they're going to follow instructions. So we requested in the ad that we did for you, for all applicants to submit their DISC profile. And we had tons of people who applied, and you were only one of about 3 people who actually submitted their profile along with it. So that allowed us immediately right away to eliminate a ton of applicants, because if you can't follow the instructions in submitting your resume to apply for the position, then we know you're not our person. So I'll just kind of start with that little piece of tidbit. So Melissa, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do for me and kind of what your day-to-day basis looks like?
Honestly, to sum it up, I feel like the best way to sum it up is I do all of the things for you that give you the power to do the things that I can't do for you. Okay. Right. So I do all of your, you are very listing heavy. So I prepare all of your paperwork for your listings, just get you completely ready for your listing appointments, anything I can do on that end. And when I say I prepare it, I do prelim stuff. And of course, you always look things over and, put your final touches on it. When you get the listing, you hand me all the paperwork, and I just get it all into the electronic system that we use and get all signatures needed, arrange photographers to just take care of any, if I have to pull well or septic documents. lock boxes, keys, brokers opens.
Mhm.
Really, it's you. When I first got together with you, you and I are very similar. And I think that's one of the reasons that we do work well is because you're type A and I'm type A.
Yes.
And I know that, and I've read other agents trying to like basically formulate a plan on having an assistant work well with them. And I saw some people said, anytime you do a task, write it down on a note, or if any, what's important to the agent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you did that. So you
Mm-hmm.
created, basically task lists
Right.
of how you want everything to go. And over time, I've tweaked that and I've adjusted it to, make it my own. So I basically do for you what you would want done.
Yes.
And it's just all the things that, that free up your time to do the things that I can't do for you. So
I love that summary. That's so perfect. And you're absolutely right. I mean, and I've talked about this before when it comes to having systems in place. If you're an agent right now who's working by yourself and you don't have an assistant, but you're thinking at some point or maybe you're not even at the point where you're thinking you want one, the best thing that you can do is to summarize, list out sort of your own checklist for each phase of your transaction. So, as you know, I probably have 20 of them. We have them for new listings. We have them for when a listing goes under contract. We have them when buyers go under contract. We have them when home inspection contingencies are removed. So it's a specific set of tasks for each step. And so when I was managing my own transactions, that was great for me because I didn't have to worry and I knew what my process was and I wasn't forgetting things. But what was so great about that I didn't even realize at the time that I did it was then when we started working together, it actually made that transition much more seamless because I was able to just show you my process and you could jump right in.
And also too, I mean, I have an unwritten rule with myself, and then, you know about it too. The checklist, and the system we use is Loop, and I know some other agents have used Brevity or what is it called? I wrote it down. I have a girlfriend that uses another checklist system that doesn't really hold the files, but I do not check off a task unless I did it.
Yeah.
So anytime I have a question as to whether I did something or not, I can just go into the system and, in turn, anytime you have a question about something, you can easily go into the system and be confident, like, all right, that's checked. I know Melissa did it. So it's not even any communication verbally between you and I. It's just you can check things, and it just really works well for your peace of mind and then mine.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing when you are working with someone to help you, especially if you're someone who, like me and kind of like you, I mean, we like to control things and we want to make sure that everything is done right. And there can be this sense of, well, did she do that? Should I do this? And so having a system in place where you and I can both go into it, for us it's Loop, and I can see, okay, Melissa, this is checked, so I know that she did it, or it's not checked, so I know it needs to be done. And so it works really well for both of us. One of the things I wanted to talk about that I know is really hard for people when they are getting started hiring someone, and this was one of our struggles in the very beginning, is it's hard to let go, and it's hard to let go of things. And so in the beginning, we had that struggle a little bit too, would you say? We
did. When I first started, I remember going to you and saying, what do? What can I help you with?
Yeah.
I was actually listening to like a Tom Ferry episode a couple of weeks ago where he said it was about assistants, and it was, if you pass this on to your assistant, you pass this task onto your assistant, that means you no longer do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that was kind of, maybe I had to pull some things out of you, but then once you released, and I was saying this to you at the luncheon, there is a trust building period.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you have to give the task, and then you have to be confident that your, support staff is going to follow through and do it the way that you want to do it. So, it takes a little bit of time. They have to prove themselves. And then after I pulled some things out of you and I proved myself,
yes,
you were able to, relinquish the control.
Well, and you're so right, because we are, I mean, I think especially when we we care about the result of the work that we do, right? And so there's always this fear or concern that somebody else is not going to care the same way that we will, or somebody's not going to do it the way that we will. And so once you can start, I think some good advice for somebody who's hiring someone for the first time is, just start with one thing. Even if you start with a small thing, and then once you can build that trust and you can see, oh, wait a minute, this is really okay. Like, honestly, at this point, I'm at the point where you can do everything all day long, and I'm perfectly happy because I trust you to do it the same way that I do it. And it doesn't, I don't have that anxiety that I used to have. So you're right. Building up that trust relationship with each other is a huge thing. I think that in the beginning, sometimes giving away sort of the smaller, and I don't mean to say that some of them are inconsequential, but some of the tasks are less involved than others, right? Delivering a lockbox.
Mindless activities, I call them, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so those things are maybe easy to start with in terms of having someone help you, because it doesn't, it's not rocket science. It doesn't take a lot of stress, but it gives you the sense of, okay, I can relinquish this. This was okay. So what else can I give away? So that's really helpful. What do you think, I know what I would say, but what do you think is the most, the trait about you or what it is that you do that makes you most helpful?
I think, that we as women, we're always looking for someone to take initiative, right? With our kids,
right?
Boyfriends or husbands. We don't want to have to ask them. We just want them to do these things, right? Yeah. So that's what I feel like I'm most helpful in that. I try to be proactive and, beat you to the punch. I was telling you, you guys were laughing at me when we had our retreat, because I do often try to beat you to the punch. Like, it's very rewarding for me, for you to walk in or Vicky to walk in and say, I need, and I'm like,
here you go.
Yeah, I just like being proactive and beating you to the punch and just anticipating what's next.
Yeah.
It gives you peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind. And I mean, don't we all just want someone who is looking out for us?
So you're so right. And that is the thing. I mean, and that's something that you build up over time, right? Because the more we work together, the more you understand what we need, the more you understand. And so you kind of get a feeling for how I work or how Vicky works when it comes to doing things for the team. And so it's easier to anticipate that. And yes, it is it's a huge deal. And that is a big part of it. For me, I think that one of the things about you that I most, that helps me the most, I don't think I'm a good one-on-one trainer. Like, I don't have a lot of, and you're the same way. Like, I don't have a lot of patience to say, step one is do this, and then step two is I don't have because then I think, well, I could just do it myself. But right. So, but the thing that you do, which is so good, is that, and this is something I would encourage you to look for when you're finding someone to hire, is you have a lot of self-initiative. So I can just hand you a task and you can become responsible for it and you figure it out. It's not that, you have to ask me 45,000 questions or call 10 times or, I think
that's kind of something that you would definitely look for that. I don't know if that's a learned characteristic. I think some people are just, take initiative with things and just figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is confidence because, when you think about some other, and I'm thinking about a particular person, when you don't necessarily have a lot of confidence in what you're doing, then you tend to second guess everything and you ask a lot of questions and you're afraid to do it. But when you're confident in yourself and what you're doing, then I think it makes that a little bit easier to do things that way. So that is probably the thing that I think you do that helps me the most. The other thing that I would say when it comes to having someone work for you and helping them to really be that powerhouse like you are, is not just giving tasks on just a daily one-to-one basis, but actually assigning responsibility for things. It's not like each day I'm coming to you and saying, hey, Melissa, today I want you to do X, Y, Z, and 1, 2, 3. That there are certain things that are your responsibility that are just that you take ownership over. It
does. Your and I relationship, it does run itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it obviously did not when we first met and I first started working for you, but over time it does. It's very, we have tweaked things. It's very efficient. I know what you need on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you do give me tasks, like say, oh, hey, I have this, listing appointment. You don't need to run down every little thing that you need for it. I just
Right.
know what you need.
Yes, exactly. And so not only does that helps you, I think, to do your job more efficiently, but it also helps me because then I don't have to think about it anymore. And that is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is when you hire someone, but then you feel like you have to come behind them for every single thing and ask again and double check. And did you do this? Like, if you do that, then you might as well not have help because you're just making twice as much work for everyone. We have a question. Somebody's asking, how can you identify when someone is going to be proactive when you meet them? That's a good question. So, Melissa, do you have a thought on that?
That is a very good question. Maybe just trying to verbally explore their work style, just with their experience, how they manage their personal life. I mean, because I run my personal life and my life with my kids the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know actually the answer to that. How you would be able to pick up on that initially.
Yeah. Well, because everybody always puts their best foot forward, right, when you're meeting with them. Yeah. So, I mean, a couple of things that I would suggest is, look for that DISC profile. That is something. There's different categories. There's it's DISC. You can find it on Tony Robbins' website. You can find a bunch of different places to do it. But each of those different categories correspond to a personality trait. So that can help you. Another suggestion would be during your interview, I'll never forget, I went to an interview once many, many years ago before I was in real estate, and they were asking me a lot of scenario type questions. And I think that's a great way in an interview to say, okay, this is a problem. This is something that might come in. How would you handle this? And that can help you to, I think, to sort of test out what their thought process might be.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying about confidence. Confidence really is something that you can pick up on initially during an interview phase.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're meeting with someone that doesn't really seem that confident.
Yes. Yeah. You're right, because there does need to be a certain element of confidence to handle things. We are getting a couple of messages from people that there are that the screen's freezing or they're losing the feed. So we are trying something new today with the way that we're posting this. So I'm hoping that on the video, you're not going to see that, and maybe it's just the connection. So when this is over, I'm going to post it to the group, and hopefully you're not going to have those that freezing or those losing the feed, and we'll also put it on YouTube too. So hopefully we're not going to have that problem anymore. If anybody else has any questions, I think I've covered sort of the main questions that I had for you. Were there any other specific things, Melissa, that you wanted to share that you feel like really helps you to help me?
I think just a clearly laid out plan is beneficial to both parties. The boss and the support staff.
Yeah.
The agent needs to know what they want done.
Yes.
And that's really, and that can be tweaked along the way. But I think when you're hiring someone, you need to know beforehand what you want done. Actually, tomorrow I'm meeting with some of the women on our team who are hiring support. I think they hired a support staff, and they just want to gather some information about, like, what do I even want done?
Yes.
So I think that would be very helpful to know what you want.
Yes.
And then just, communicate that properly.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think clarity is good. And when you go, when we start the day, and I know, like, from even myself as a real estate agent, like, one of the worst things that can happen is when you start the day and you don't know what you're doing. And so that goes the same for you. So I kind of have a routine. I know what I'm supposed to do each day. You know what you're supposed to do each day. And it's because I've been clear with you, and that changes. I mean, there have been times where, there's been things that you've done and then I ended up taking it over because it was more comfortable, and there's other things that you've picked up along the way. So it's an ever evolving process, I think, is probably the thing to think about when it comes to making sure that it's really successful for both parties.
Agreed.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we've got a couple people who are saying that their feed has been fine, so that's good. I'm glad. Hopefully, hopefully all that's been fine. So if I don't see any other questions here, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. So Melissa, thank you for being my guest.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. And we will see everybody later. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.